Hey YouTube, it's Andrew from Bushcraft and Chisel here. I've just recently bought a Yugoslavian Mess Kit on eBay. Thinking about integrating it into my regular kit, maybe replacing the mess kit that I currently use with this one. I do quite like a lot of aspects of it, but there are some things that are just not quite right, so I thought I'd make some modifications to it and make a video of how I get on with that as I go along the way. But first off, I should probably just do a quick little review on what the kit's composed of, and I guess why I like it and some of the things I don't like about it. I'll try and be brief with all of this because there's plenty of other videos you can probably check on YouTube that talk all about this kit. But first thing to say is it comes inside a kind of olive green canvas bag that you see here, a canvas pouch. It's very kind of light wearing canvas. It may cope with a lot of abuse, but to me it looks like that probably wouldn't be the case. You know, if I gave it a lot of grief, I think it would disintegrate fairly quickly. It has two loops on the back of it so that you can attach it to other gear. That's there is some cross stitching here at the bottom, but it seems quite basic. So yeah, let's open it up and I'll show you what's inside. So firstly, if I open it up and show you, we have the kit here, which I'll put to the side there. Also inside the pouch, you'll see that there is a knife, fork and spoon. There we go, knife, fork and spoon. They're all integrated into one, and you'll see that that's inside just a very basic loop that sits inside of the pouch. And you can see, if I turn the pouch inside out, you can get an indication of its quality by looking at the stitching on the inside. But you see it's kind of falling apart a bit, I think, you know. Threads bearing out there and things. There's a very good indication. You see it's very rough. So let's just have a quick look at this knife, fork and spoon. Basic aluminium construction. It is very difficult to take this apart. So the knife is actually the integrated holder, which has a bottle opener on here and a can opener on the other side. But if I take it apart, which is kind of tricky, put some force into it. There we go. You can see that. Oh, if I can get this right up at the camera. The knife is has actually started to grind into the surface of the spoon because the actual tip of the knife point sits on the spoon, so that's causing quite a lot of damage there. There you can see the spoon is just that's the one spoon section there, and there's the fork there as well, and as I was saying before, there's the knife with the can opener here and a bottle opener on the other side. It's quite a clever and useful design. Also, having that steel folded over there gives you a nice firm grip of it in your hand. So I quite like that, but I don't so much like the fact that it's very difficult to take apart, and the fact that the point of that knife is cutting into the bottom section of the spoon. So yeah, and the other thing as well, of course, with this knife, fork and spoon is it's got a lot of weight to it. But yeah, there's that there. Right, so onto the kit itself. There's a clasp that runs right down the middle of it here, which keeps the two sections together. That's quite a tight fit, but if you put your two thumbs to it and give it a bit of a press, bam, you can open that. Then if I remove this top section, there we go, you'll notice the top section is a cup, a really substantial plastic cup, which is pretty good. And then inside we have another smaller plastic cup, which I'm not entirely sure on the relevance of because it's very, very small. I don't think you get a substantial cup of anything in there, but yeah, I may find another use for that, but I'll put that aside here as well. The water bottle inside, yep, this is, you know, pretty durable, pretty hard wearing plastic. This is pretty rugged, although I have tried filling it with water already, and when you turn it upside down and really give it a good shaking, it does actually drip water from the top of it. I'll talk more about that later in a minute or two, but yeah, there's the water bottle. Put that over here, and then the aluminium cook pot element of the kit, which sits at the bottom. With this nice long handle on it here, so you can keep your hand away from the heat pretty well. Yeah, I like that very much. This is the only section that's aluminium. You know, easily put it over a fire to cook with it, or you know, or a gas stove or a solid fuel stove, whatever you like. So yeah. One of the things I can also tell you about this kit, which the camera won't show you, is that as I said, I ordered this on eBay, but it's obviously been in used kit by the Yugoslavian, or the former Yugoslavian army, I guess, and the actual kit itself has a kind of strong, kind of damp smell to it, which is not particularly inspiring of something that you want to cook in, but it's often the way with military surplus that you buy. You know, it's probably been sitting around in a warehouse for a long time, soaking up water and everything. So, so yeah, one of the and of course, you know, I've bought this on eBay, but I have absolutely no idea to the actual history of these items and what they've specifically been used for. So I think the first thing that I'll do as part of my modifications to this kit, although I don't know if you could call it a modification, is I think I'll go around and sterilize all of the equipment, just to make sure that it's you know, clean to use, clean for me to eat from and store water in, and so it's probably best that I show you how I'm going to go about doing that. What I'll use for this purpose, and anyone who's got children will know that this is a good way of sterilizing things, is I'll use sterilizing tablets that you can use for babies to sterilize the containers that they eat from or drink from. So I'm going to use that and sterilize all of this kit out with that. This is just some cheapo sterilizing tabs that I bought from Asda, which I think you can get for about £1 for 56, which is pretty good. There's other brands out there on the market, like Milton, for example, which is much more expensive. But stay with me, and I'll show you how I'm going to go about sterilizing this kit as a starter. So welcome to the Special Projects Lab, or the kitchen sink as I also like to call it. Check out these marigolds, wow, there we go. So, right, first things first, the water bottle. Let's take a look at that. One of the things I want to know about this water bottle is the volume inside it. That'll become important later on. So, I've got myself here a measuring jug, so let's go ahead and hit it with 500 mils first and see how that goes. Oh, there's 500 mils. Let's give it a fill. Well, that's it taken 500 mils comfortably, and there's still more capacity in there, so let me just fill up with another 500 mils. Right, that's another 500. And that's it. Exactly 1 litre. the capacity of this. So you can see right up to the top. So that's pretty good, 1 litre. So you'll remember I mentioned when I was talking about this to begin with was that there was a leaking issue with this. So I'm going to now tighten the bottle up. Make sure it's on here pretty well. Then give it a bit of a dry off with a paper towel so there's no water on the outside of it. There we go. And then let's give it a shake and see whether it still leaks. I don't know if you can see over the basin I've got filled here with water. I'm sugaring this like crazy. Oh, there's a drip that must have been on the outside of the bottle, but you'll see not getting much leakage, if any, out of here. In fact, it looks like pretty much zero leakage. A few drops on the outside I think that I've failed to clean up at the bottom of the bottle there, but compared to how it was when I first got it, I mean, it was leaking profusely, and now that's not the case. So what's the trick then, you may well ask? Well, I don't know if this bottle is stereotypical of all the other ones that people buy online, but if I pour some of the water out here, there we go, and we see if we can have a look at a close-up on this. Here we go. It's probably pretty tricky to see it, but the actual, let's see if I can get in real close. There we go. There is some scouring marks to the top of the bottle, and I imagine what was going on is that there wasn't a perfect seal being formed between the top of the cap and the top of the bottle. So what I did was I thought to myself, can I find a washer, like a rubber washer I can put in the top of the cap in order to make a better seal? And so I went to a local DIY store, B&Q, and I managed to find in the plumbing section a ball valve, a diaphragm washer, which, as it turns out, is exactly the right size for fitting in the top of the bottle cap. If you see in there, you can see that washer in there. Let the camera will focus. There we go, it's focusing. So I've just essentially taken that washer and just put it in the top of the bottle, and now when you tighten the cap on the top, it forms a perfect seal onto the top of the bottle. So that's perfect. So yeah, enough of that. Let's go on and start sterilising this equipment. So I'll just empty the water out of this. There we go, emptied out. So, in the basin I've got over here, I have 9.2 litres worth of water, lukewarm water, which I've measured out in advance. If you look at the guide on making up the sterilising solution on here, it asks for 2.3 litres per tablet that's used, so we'll be using 4 tablets, and that should give us enough volume to completely submerge all of the kit under the water. So all I need to do, and as you may have gathered from earlier, the reason for the marigolds is that this can be harmful, these tablets, to your skin, so always best to stay safe and yeah, there's the camera focusing on that. Always best to stay safe and make sure you don't put chemical burns onto your skin. It's largely a preventative measure. I can't imagine it'd be particularly serious. So inside of the packet we've got our 56 tabs. We're going to need 4 of those. So I'm going to just tear this in half. There we go. It expires the 3rd 2019, so that's a pretty good long shelf life on those tablets as well. Right, so let's distribute these 4 into the water. And what I'll do is, just to distribute, I'll put 1 in each corner. There's 1. Two. You can see it bubbling away in the water. Oh, managed to break that one in half. There we go. It's like Alka-Seltzer. Right. You wouldn't want to drink it though. 3. And finally 4. Let that bubble away. The instructions say to give it a stir, so wooden spoon should do the job. Just make sure those tablets are fully mixed into the water. It may take a second, let's just give that, agitate up the process. Okay, we got 3 dissolved, last one is dissolving there. There we go. Now the process is only going to complete after we put this stuff submerged for 30 minutes, so that's precisely what I'm going to do now. Put everything in there, submerge it all up. So let's see if I can find a configuration to fit it all in here. So there's the aluminium can. Plastic cup. Let's see if we can nest these 2 together. There's the 2 plastic cups. There we go. And the water bottle. As your trick to this is make sure that all the air is out of this bottle. So I'm going to just put it into the water and start to get it to fill up at an angle there. Let's see what I'm doing if I get my hand out of the way. There we go. Hopefully we should get all the air out of that. Hear it filling on the inside of the bottle. There we go, we're good. So, I think we should be fine there. If the exterior surfaces of any of the containers do go above the level of the surface, that doesn't bother me too much because I'm not eating out of the outside of the container. I'm eating out of the inside or storing water on the inside. So there we go. That's all nicely submerged. I'll check the clock and leave it to soak for 30 minutes and then come back and take it out afterwards, and then I'll continue this back at the tabletop. Okay, I've brought this all this kit back to the tabletop again. I've dried it all out, and before I would package this all up and take it out into the field with me, I think I'd probably run some boiling water through each one of these containers just for safe measure. But the first thing I should tell you straight off the bat is that if I smell each of these containers, the horrible kind of damp smell that was on them before now seems to be gone. They kind of have a kind of clinical clean type smell about them, which is good. So I'm happy with that. So really, what I should do now, I guess, is talk about why I like this as a kit. Really, what I've noticed is that I guess there seems to be a trend in the kind of bushcraft and survival type community these days to be going for water containers, water vessels that are usually stainless steel construction and quite large volume and a wide open mouth on the bottle. And that tends to be, I think, because if you're in a situation where you need to collect water and you've only got like maybe 2 millimeters of water on the ground, then using a bottle like this that has this very tight neck to it makes it almost impossible to get that down to the level of depth where you can get that 2 millimeters of water to flow into this bottle. So that's, I can understand that, but if I have a kit like this, firstly, I don't have the huge weight that you would have with a big stainless steel bottle. And secondly, I've got a container here that I can not only eat from or drink from, I can also actually put this container right very flush to any surface so that I can collect water with this. And once I've collected water into this container, you know, it's easy for me to pour it into this container and boil it, or you know, pour it into this bottle if I'm sure on the water's quality. I suppose the other thing I should say as well is that when you combine this type of kit with a water purification tablets, chlorine tablets. If you use I've got like a box of chlorine tablets that I bought from an outdoor shop a long time ago. These cost me maybe about £2 to £3. I think they weren't very expensive. But if I open this kind of kit up, Life Systems chlorine tablets, it says on the outside. If I open this up, then inside of this box I get a little fabric fine grain filter here. You can see that I suppose it's a bit like I guess kind of coffee filter, but made of fabric. You see that. I can easily plant that into the top of this water bottle here, and then use this container that I've collected the water from, and then, you know, decant this into the bottle here through the filter. And then what that will do is ensure that I remove any large particulates from the water, you know, turbidity from the water. Basically, I'm not going to have any debris there. I'm going to be able to fill that bottle with as close to clean water as I can. But then, in order to guarantee that water's, you know, absolutely clean, perfectly clean to drink, I can also add these chlorine tablets actually into this bottle. Now, you remember I said that I checked the volume on this bottle and it's exactly 1 litre. Well, that's really, really attractive, because with these tablets, it says on the outside, there's 6 tablets here in this particular packet, and I've got a lot more packets in the box there. With each tablet, it says written on them, add 1 tablet to 1 litre of water, wait 30 minutes before drinking. So there's nothing complicated about this kit. If I want to clean water to make it, you know, possible to drink, if I'm, you know, in a situation where I don't have the time to boil water, or maybe I don't have the fuel to boil water, then I can use one of these tablets. I put 1 tablet into this bottle, fill it with 1 litre of water, that's right up to the top, and that's it, job done. You know, 1 tablet, 1 bottle, perfect, nothing complicated. I don't have to use, you know, 3 tablets, I don't have to use 2.5 tablets, I don't have to half fill the bottle or 3/4 fill the bottle. It's just simple and straightforward, straight from the get-go. So that's good, very good indeed. So let me start putting this kit back together, and then I'll start to address some of the other points I didn't like from the beginning of this video. If I put this all back and put that one on the top there, and then I've got that metal handle comes over here and then clips onto the top here, and there we go. And there we got the kit completely together, perfect. Just make sure it's all, yep, that's good. So I'll just put that to the side. Yeah, the problem that I said before was that the pouch that this came in originally was not the best pouch in the world. So with that in mind, I tried to go out and source another one. So I found this. This is a Webtex British Army water bottle pouch. I think I've got some of the literature that came with it here. There we go, Webtex. This is brand new. I actually bought 2 of these on eBay for £15, so that would make this £7.50 that it cost me. This is an incredible quality of pouch for £7.50, I've got to say, and also it's made of Cordura, so that's a good thing in itself. The quality of this, I think, would stand up to much more expensive pouches on the market. Maxpedition pouches, for example, they're very nice pouches, but they tend to cost a lot more money to buy than something like this. The stitching on this is brilliant all round, cross-stitched. The material this is made from, the Cordura, is just, you know, very, very strong material, very hard wearing. I think you get a lot of life out of something like this. But if I give you a quick run round of this, so I have obviously this plastic fastening clip here. There's also a Velcro section here, and you've got a Velcro cover plate here which you can take off, exposing another section of Velcro there, which you can just fold inside there, and then this will stick down to that Velcro section like that. So I don't have to use this fastening clip. I can just have it Velcro stuck if I want to. That's fine. Or I can put that back on like so. Inside, I mean, I suppose this is where Maxpedition things come into their own. Inside here, or you can also see there at the bottom, there's a drain hole, which I can put my thumb over, so it fills up with water, it's going to drain out of the bottom. We just have one basic pocket in here at the front, which can be used to store other things as well, and just one main pocket. But I'm not too bothered by that, because all I really want it for is my mess kit, really. I don't want a lot of different pockets in there. If I fold the lid inside out, just to make this a bit easier to see, there is a waterproof holder here in the interior side of the lid of this pouch, and I believe that's actually for taking chlorine tablets. So with that in mind, if I take let's take a couple of these packets of chlorine tablets that came in my box over there. I think if I fold these over like that, so that I've got them about 4 wide, you'll notice that they fit into the lid section there just perfectly, which is nice. And that fabric filter that I had as well, I can roll that up. Let's just see if I can get this packed down quite small. And if I'm lucky, I should get that in this top section as well. So yeah, there we go. The 2 of them in there, so that's great. Fold that back over, and there I've got sterilizing tablets in the lid of the pouch. Also, oh, I should say, not to forget, in terms of being able to carry this, there's a big belt loop that I've got here. You can see my fingers going through there. So that's great. I can attach it to just about any type of belt. I've got 2 metal snaps there, and also Velcro fastening behind those metal snaps as well, so I can take that belt loop off and get it out of the way. I have PLCE mounting points here if you use that system. I don't. I'm not very familiar with it. But also, what you might miss as well is that behind these 2 Velcro snaps down here, I've also got 2 loops there for molly attachment, so easy enough to attach that to molly gear. I've also got another loop here I can use as an attachment point. So very versatile, basically. You could throw this inside a rucksack and you'd have all of your kit together inside the rucksack, and you'd know exactly what it was. Or if you had to remove it from your rucksack and put it on your belt, then you can do that. If you want to attach it to molly straps on the outside of your kit, you could do that. So lots and lots of options here, basically. But perhaps the most important thing to show you is that when I take the mess kit and put it into this pouch, I'll put it in with the handle facing front, I think, to begin with. You can see that fits in there perfectly. And in fact, it not only fits in here perfectly, I've actually got a fairly large amount of space still available here, and if you can see, I can go about 2 fingers depth there as well. So so with that in mind, I thought to myself, well, what else would I want to have in this kit that would be useful for me? Well, you also remember that I said at the beginning that I wasn't particularly fond of the knife, fork and spoon, principally because it was getting damaged. You can easily go out and purchase a replacement knife, fork and spoon of a very similar design to the one that came with the kit originally. This cost me £3 from a supermarket, and these are relatively easy to source. Supermarkets, outdoor stores, very easy to pick up. But I decided to not go with this option. I think I'll keep this and maybe put it in a different kit at some other point. But I decided to actually soup up the kit in this particular regard, and decided to go out and buy myself a titanium light my fire spork. Now this is an expensive item to buy, like all titanium, I guess. This cost me £10, which makes it pretty much the most expensive item that's in the kit altogether. But I just can't stress to you guys how little this weighs. I mean, the two of these side by side, this spork is, you know, it just feels like it's not metal at all. It's just, you know, almost feels weightless in the hand, and yet it's very, very strong. So you know, you might not choose to go for this option. Paying £10 for something you eat with is probably a bit crazy, but I tell you, in terms of weight saving, you can't knock it. You've obviously got the spoon there, the fork at that side, and there's actually a sharpened section to the edge of the fork there, which allows you to use it as a knife too. And this will easily fit into, let's just find a configuration. There we go. Will easily fit into the pouch there and keep that just out of the way. But you know, I've put that in there now. I still have that space there. I mean, that takes up next to nothing in terms of room. So then I thought to myself, well, what else would I like to put in there that would be useful for me? And I was hunting around the house and I found this. This is an old hexamine stove that I had kicking about. Never ever used it, still in the box. I've used hexamine stoves on and off through the years, usually the military issued ones that you get in Britain. They come with hexamine blocks. They're usually a lot bigger than the ones that you can see in the picture here. But you know, I've heard not particularly great things about these hexamine stoves. But you know, I thought to myself, let's see how this would fit into the kit here. And if I try to just put it in this section here at the back, force that in here. May require a little bit of manoeuvring. At the moment it's getting stuck on the plastic section that protrudes out of the cup, so I may need to revisit this. So there we go, just altered the mess kit round the other way. Oh yeah, I knew there was a way that this fits in here. There we go, look at that. So there we go. There we have the hexamine stove nicely slotted down in there. I'll show you the side profile, it's not sticking out too much. There we go. So there we've got a hexamine stove, we've got cutlery, we've got all the kit from eating from, the water bottle, and you know, that's perfect. If I just check to see, does this fold over and does the lid close? It does indeed, and the clip fastens it all nice and tightly shut there. So perfect. You know, that's I've got no problems with that at all. That's great, keeping all of the kit self-contained, all good. Of course, I got to thinking after I did that there probably is just one more thing missing from this kit. And if you haven't guessed what that is, a lighter would be kind of useful, wouldn't it? Because how am I going to light the hexamine stove if I don't have a lighter? Now, I quite often carry a fire kit on me anyway, but you know, you'd like to have redundancy available. I would have multiple ways of lighting those hexamine tablets, but I thought, you know, in case all of that is lost, it's always good to have some other alternate means in there. So this lighter I thought I would put in. I bought this in the supermarket just at the weekend. It's a bull lighter. You get 3 of them for £1 in the supermarket, and it gives you a nice flame there, which is good. But what's quite cool about this as well is that at the very other section of this lighter, there's a little switch on it, and if I do this, you can see it's got an LED built in, which is quite useful, you know, if you're hunting around in the dark. Now I've got not only a means to light the hexamine, I can also see what I'm doing in the dark, so that's an added bonus. And what I tend to do with lighters, and just as a kind of standard modification, is that you know, coming from practicing my craft in Scotland, it's always raining. You know, the weather we have here is huge quantities of rain on an annual basis. So I like to have a kind of method of surefire that I know is going to work, but you know, other than just having the lighter itself. So I've got an old bicycle inner tube here, actually from a racing bike. So it's a very low profile inner tube, and what I tend to do is, if I can show you here, use my Victorinox hiker. This is in my EDC. I just carry this with me every day. What I can do here is just cut a section of this off and try and get a nice cut to this. There we go. Incidentally, this Victorinox hiker also has on it, I won't go into depth on this, but also has on it a can opener. So the can opener that I lost when I got rid of the original knife, fork and spoon, I would have available to me anyway, assuming this is always in my pocket. 99% of the time it is. So yeah, bicycle inner tube, just feed it over the outside of the lighter. And then what that gives me is, well, it gives me a couple of things. It gives me a bit of traction on the lighter for when they're running low. Just having the LED on there. Feeding it over here is not the most straightforward thing in the world to do, but achievable nonetheless. There we go. So now I've got a little bit of extra purchase, a little bit of extra traction on this lighter in my hand. A rubber section to it, which is quite nice. Made sure I cut that inner tube so that it didn't go over the actual switch for the LED once it's in place. So you can see there, it's quite good. But yes, as I was saying, in Scotland, pouring down with rain, you want some way that you can start a fire, and these inner tubes from all types of tyres are fantastic once you get them lit, at staying lit, and you know, you can get as much water on that as you like. It will always burn. It gives off a horrible, nasty black soot to it when it does burn, but it will, you know, in very wet conditions, you know, you set that on fire and it's something you can use that'll get some very marginal tinder lit. So it's a good intelligent thing just to have there wrapped on the outside. And if I bring the kit back over here, there we go. You can see just down by the side of the stove there, I'll easily be able to fit this lighter just in there. And there we go. So we've got a lighter, the kit, knife, fork and spoon, and hexamine stove. Clip that all together. And we've got a nice kit available for me to go and field test. So I'll aim to try and get a video of using this out in the field, see how it plays, see whether it's something I can use or whether I maybe go back to more traditional methods. But thank you very much for watching this video, sticking with me to the end. It was a bit of a long one, yeah, thanks for watching.